Hello, everybody. Have a seat. Court is in session because today we got books on trial. Okay. I've read so many books in a series and I'm the queen of not finishing things. We're going to decide whether I have to finish this book series or if they're just going to get DNF'd. The series is just not going to be finished. We also have a third category. So, books I can't decide on, you will get to choose. On my community tab, I'll put up a poll and you can vote whether you want that group of book to be a DNF or if you think I should read the series. So, head over to my community tab after watching this video so you can vote. I really wish I had a gavel. I was looking everywhere for a gavel and I couldn't find it. So imagine I go, come forward, come to the podium. The first book is the Touch of Darkness series. Now, I am holding up the last book, but I'm not on that book, okay? I needed to get this exclusive edition, the cover of it. Okay, I had to. I do like this book series. I'm on A Touch of Malice, and this book has some crimes that it has to answer for, okay? The first crime being Persephone, girl, we need to talk, okay? Because why? She's not the born sexy yesterday trope, but she almost is. You know, she is supposed to be someone that has lived amongst mortals for a fair time, has empathy for mortals, okay? She's not a typical god. She wasn't raised like a typical god and da 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 da. I get that characters go through things in books and they change who they are, but how she's heading down, it's just getting annoying. It reminds me kind of Lore Olympus. I never read Lore Olympus, but I watched a video about it, and from like, I can make a connection from this Persephone and that Persephone and how annoying she can get. And it's kind of like, girl, what happened to your empathy, babe? What happened to liking mortals? What happened to caring? What happened to not being a weird, bloodthirsty fucking weirdo? I don't know. Anyway, I hope it doesn't go down the direction and straight too far from her true self. I would like her to actually have empathy for people, because if you're such a sweet, kind, and caring person that Hades loves you for, girl, why the fuck are you turning people into plants and then not turning them back at all? Like, I'm sorry, this is turning into a rant, but this is a crime, okay? This is a crime, because let Miss Minth become not a mint plant anymore. I think it's Minthy or whatever. Minthy's crime was thirsting over Hades. Aren't we all? Like, girl, get to the back of the line, okay? And you know what's crazy? There's another character that gets turned into a tree and comes back, and Persephone has empathy for her. But what happened to Minth? Or Minthy? What happened to her? You know, Persephone, girl, you're kind of the jail of this book. And it is kind of the insta-love trope, because it's like, I get why they like each other, but like, I feel like I've seen it done better in other books. So yes, this book has committed some crimes, but I'm gonna let it go. I would say this book is safe. I'm too deep in this series. I might as well finish it, okay? I will be looking at you, Persephone. Next book that is on trial is Dune, okay? If you watch my channel at all, you know I am obsessed with Dune, okay? So it's like, how could I ever have this book even stand on trial, right? I mean, I'm going through all the series that I've been reading. So the Dune series specifically, I'm talking about Frank Herbert's Dune right now. I haven't read any of Brian Herbert's stuff yet. I'm on the last book of the original Dune series. It is Chapter House Dune, okay? I love Dune. I'm not going to talk shit about Dune, except there is some crimes it has to answer for, which it suffers the crime of its last two books, the later books, Heretics and Chapter House. I'm like, couldn't we make this one book? Like, what, other than the philosophy that was said and, you know, the conversations had, I feel like we could have made this one book. Because what was the plot? Because where does the plot go? You know, I wouldn't even say I'm super character focused. Like, I could be here for the environment, for the philosophy, for the world building, but I really do not give a fuck about the characters in the later Dune books. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, you're just like another blip in time, bitch. I'm sorry. Like, you Bene Gesserit just keep going round and round and round and round and round. Like, it's cool to see how things evolve and how new challenges face the Bene Gesserit. I'm like, okay, like, what's the plot? Like, I'm like a good chunk into Chapter House. I don't know what the plot is. I can't tell you. Heretics, like, I get the plot, but it's not strong, you know? And I think that this series towards the later books, hopefully it wraps up by the end of this book, but I just need something really strong to happen or really interesting to happen. So Dune, you are safe, okay? I still love you. I'm halfway through the last book. I'm just gonna finish it. I really want to see the ending, of course, of Dune. The last 2 books, I feel like they could have been one. Like, what are we really saying here? I don't know. Anyway, that's Dune. You are safe, Dune series. I will continue reading you. Yes. Okay, next is a recent one I read via audiobook. It is the Lights Out book. Ah! Let me control myself. It is apparently going to be a series. So that's why I'm including it in this video. It is technically going to be a series, I think. Now, this book does have some crimes, like literally has some crimes. I don't know how I feel about dark romance. This writer really did a good job with this book. She has great characterization. Her characters stay true to who they are, what they do. Everything kind of makes sense for the things that they do in this book, though it's like a little like, oh, are we really that chill about what we just did? Like, are we really that chill about what the fuck just happened? That's a little weird, but it also makes sense because of who they are as a character. It warrants their actions. I get why people read the audiobook version of this. The voice acting is just great. Like, they add like so much to the characters. The voice actors, really truly amazing. That being said, but the female main character, her crimes are commenting on thirst traps on TikTok. Girl, come to the front. Girl, come to the front. Because what do you mean you're commenting on every video of this man's thirst trap? Stand up. But obviously, like, she needs to comment for the plot to be plotting. And him. Sorry, I'm not just gonna put this on the woman here. What are you doing? Setting up your damn camera, putting on a... There's a little bit of an element of cringe for me, personally, okay? But I like the book and I like the plot, but if I think about it too hard, I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing? You know? What the fuck are y'all doing? And the other crime about this book is what happens in, like, the second half, like, the later half of the book, something that the characters do, and I'm like, are you guys being so for real right now? Just go to the police. Why are we making this decision? Like, this can be avoided. If you read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't read it, go listen to it, okay? Some of the way that they react to things is, like, a little bit concerning to me. But it is dark romance. Like, that's just, like, the genre. Like, characters are doing, like, crazy shit in dark romance, and that's just what you get from it. And, like, literally listening to the trigger warnings when I first started this book, I'm like, oh, everything was handled really well and it was really well done. I'm glazing the fuck out of this book. But those were its 2 crimes, okay? The second later half of the book and the characters being a little bit cringe. Will I DNF this series? Will I be reading the next book? I'm just gonna have to say this book is safe. Y'all, this book is safe, and I will be only listening to it on audiobook. Okay, the next book I will be listening to it on audiobook. I don't know what's going on in the next book, but I'll be there. Get out of here, Lights Out. You're good. You're safe. The next series I'm here to put on trial, Come to the Front, Wheel of Time. Okay? Yeah, I know a lot of people love this book. This book is incredibly famous, understandably. I'm like on chapter 12 of the first book, okay? So this series, it's a long one. There's like, I feel like there's more than 7 books, and I kind of started reading this with my friend. This is like a really well-renowned fantasy book, but it doesn't mean that it is excused from this court, okay? There are crimes it has to stand on trial for, and those crimes being so damn long. People talk about this series having something called the sludge, I think, where it's like the books in the middle of the series, it gets really slow. And I'm like, this book is slow to begin with. I could tell you in the 13 chapters that I've read, I could tell you what has happened. I swear it's just a character going from A to B and someone nearly dying along the way. We learn a lot about the world building is going on, and I'm intrigued, but do we have to make this series so long? Like, is there enough content to be entertained by? Because it is slow, and I've heard people say it is slow, and honestly, that's a crime. That's an infraction. I'm sorry. That's a crime. Why is it that slow? And I am reading it with my friend, so I am going to finish the first book, or at least the 13th chapter, because that's what she's on. So this series, I'm honestly going to put this in the 3rd category for the community tab. Okay, you guys are going to vote whether I finish Wheel of Time or not, if you think it's worth it. It is to be determined. So yeah, go vote for that book. There's gonna be more books in that category, but this book is a part of that category. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. It is a lot, but I'll leave it up to you guys. The next book series that is on trial with many crimes, Come to the Front, From Blood and Ash. I actually bought this book physically. I'm like, you know what? It's romantic-y, maybe it's spicy. Like, let me get into this. Let me see if I like this. I physically bought this book. Where is it with me today, you might ask? I fucking donated it because I don't want it. Its crimes are the main character is annoying as fuck. I'm sorry. She just is like, I don't know. And also its crime is like, what is going on in this world? Maybe I didn't stay long enough to figure out, but I don't know if I care. Why is there vampires? Why is there also werewolves? And then this maiden girl. Then it's like a rebel group. What are they rebelling about though? Like, the crime is I'm confused. You can't confuse me. You know? What's going on? And why is she so like itsy bitsy and like I never know that I could have bodily autonomy and autonomy over my brain because I've been a part of this cult and I'm the maiden and I don't even know what the maiden is. Like, I guess that's the intriguing part. It's like, oh, let's find out what this is about. But the world is just not giving me the depth initially. It just was not for me. If it's for you, do your thing, you know? But it's just not for me. And for those crimes, it's getting a DNF. There's no way I'm finishing From Blood and Ash. There's no way. That was quick. Okay. Step Up, Foundation. Okay. The Foundation series. I love old sci-fi. I love old fantasy. And I physically picked up Foundation. Now, I don't know what my issue was. I don't know if it's the time that I read it. I don't know what's going on. But the crimes of this book are, what the fuck is going on? I lost the plot. After they got to a certain world in this book, I couldn't understand or visualize what was going on. Like, I completely lost the plot of the book. Maybe I was not focusing, and the book is small, but I really just lost the plot, and I think it was a little confusing. Maybe I just was reading it at a bad time and I wasn't focused. Foundation is just like a sci-fi book practically about this one guy that invented this type of math that has to do with predicting history, but then it's also and then he has this agenda of how the world needs to go. So he gathers a scientist that gathers other scientists to make this vision come to life. But then it's also was this guy a good guy? Why did he create this mathematical equation about the universe and how we need to save it or change the trajectory of it? And I love the concept. And Isaac Asimov is obviously a fucking legend, but I lost the plot. And I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up again. I think this will also go into the category of community decides, of you guys decide, because I have no idea if it's worth finishing. So this goes into that third category of you deciding. It'll be joined with the other book on the poll. Okay, Come to the Front, Hyperion. Okay, Hyperion is a sci-fi book, and it's practically about these characters that go and blast off to a planet because there is an evil monster on this planet. Because there's this evil entity on this planet, and they're all telling their stories and their run-ins with this evil entity on this planet. Okay, and there's other evil doings and evil, well, it's not evil, but other weird stuff going on in this planet. It's a very specific planet with very specific things on it. We have unconfronted beef with the Shrike, which is this fucking being. I can't even describe what the fuck the Shrike is. Okay, this book does have crimes. Okay, I finished the first book. I'm on the second book, and I was intrigued with how the stories were told in the first Hyperion. It really hypes up the antagonist. You are just hearing about all the foul shit this antagonist has done and has tortured and caused trauma to these characters. There's some people that are obsessed with the Shrike, and it's their muse, and they're in awe of it. There's people who worship it, and there's people who fear it, and there's people who want to fucking kill it. Okay, I'm on the Fall of Hyperion, and the crimes of this book, let's move it along. You know, it's too slow crime, because I think I'm on chapter 17, and the characters are still just fresh out the ship on the planet Hyperion. And then there's another plot line with other characters also joining this planet. And I'm okay, what are we doing now? Something needs to go on. This Shrike needs to start fucking with you guys, because I'm getting bored. Be re-traumatized. I'm bored. I think it should start speeding up. I just want to see their encounters with the Shrike. I'm kind of impatient. and maybe that's something about me, but this is my video, man, so Hyperion has to answer for its crimes against me, and it's being a little bit slow. I'm gonna let this one be safe, okay? It's a keep. I'm gonna keep this book. I'm gonna try and finish it. I'm gonna at least finish the audiobook of the second book. I don't know if I'll finish the series. Like, if nothing goes on in the second book, I'm gonna have to do some research and see if shit goes down in the third book, but I will give it a chance. I feel like Hyperion, the first book, was so strong. I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm also very intrigued about the Shrike. I still want to know. They hyped the Shrike up so much in the first book. I kind of just need to know. So I'll continue reading Hyperion. Step forward, Book of the New Sun. Okay. This is my everything. This is my everything. The most unhinged fucking book series I've ever read in my life. I love Dune so much, but I truly think this is taking the place of being like the best series I've read. I am on the third book, which this is the first two books. I'm on the third book. I don't have a physical version of it here, but I am on the third book, so I'll put a picture of it right here. Book of the New Sun. The series that you are. Gene Wolfe, the man that you are. This book is incredibly dense, heavy prose in its fantasy sci-fi. Like, honestly, I think it might be in the wrong genre. I don't think the publishing knew what genre to put it in, because I kind of feel like it's more science fiction than fantasy, but it's told in a fantasy lens. It's science fiction told in a fantasy lens, which is like, it's so cool. It's so cool. I could talk about this book all day. I've been so intrigued. It's one long journey that you're reading about. It takes place over maybe like a couple of months. Like, I don't even think a year has gone by yet. Maybe a year has gone by at this point. And I need to know where Severian ends up. I need to know where the main character ends up, because why does he become literally like God? Why does he become like the highest form of government? Like, how'd you get there? I need to know. And the main character is just an insane person. Like, he's a bad person. He's insane. Like, this book is definitely dark. I feel like it's probably along the lines of Joe Abercrombie's like First Law. The main character is doing bad shit. The crimes that this book has, what crimes? It has the crime of being a book that is not for everybody. I don't know if that's really a crime though. Really, truly, it's like a fucked up dark romance. Like, you need to make sure you check your trigger warnings, because this main character does some fucked shit. Like, if you don't want to read that sort of thing, just know that this book is just not for you. I think the only crime is Severian is a fucking dumbass, but I get why he's a dumbass, because he was a part of a cult and he was like, I think the only thing is sometimes I'm like, Severian, dude, be so fucking for real. Like, be so fucking for real. But that's also what intrigues me about the book, is that this character is absolutely unhinged. He's absolutely unhinged, and that's why I'm just like, what the fuck is he gonna do next? What is he gonna think next? Because I don't even know why the fuck he thinks like that. Like, why is he thinking like that? But I do know. It makes sense for him to think like that because of this world. It's so weird. This world is the most unique world I think I've ever read about. I don't even know if we're in sci-fi fantasy. I don't know what's going on, but you unveil it, and it makes sense. Crazy good series. And of course, it is safe. I'm going to finish that book and finish the book after. Yes. Even if it leaves me with unanswered questions, which maybe that could be the crime of this book. Apparently, it does give you some unanswered questions, but then also the author answered a lot of the questions in another book he published about this book. So anyway, if you like dark fantasy, sci-fi stuff, I recommend you this book for sure. Come Up, Way of Kings, you're next. I really thought I was gonna like Way of Kings, okay? Feels like a crime that I got bored of Way of Kings. And I know the new book just came out, and like the fandom, I'm like, I see the fandom from afar, I'm like, you guys, I wish I was a part of you, but this book is fucking slow. It's a huge book. It's like over 1,000 pages, I think. And this series, the Stormlight Archive, I just feel like it's a little slow, and I don't know if I care too much about the second character we read about in Way of Kings, which is Shallan. Sorry, Shallan. I read a little bit of this book. I didn't read a lot, but I kind of only really cared about Caladan. Or Kaladin. Sorry, I'm used to Dune. And I feel like the pacing is just slow. And I'm like, what point does our characters get to by the end of the book? Like, what? I think it's really about the character themselves, at least Kaladin. I just kind of don't know if I really am grasping the weight of the plot. I just don't know if I care too much about this world yet. I really don't know if I'm going to finish it, and I think I'll just put it into the third category of you guys deciding on my community tab. Come to the front, Quicksilver. I think this is going to be a series. If not, oops. The Fire and Alchemy series. I'm sorry, I did not like this. I'm sorry, I did not like this. Some of the things this man was doing, I was like, are you being so for real right now? As in Kingfisher, which, like, anytime I think of the name Kingfisher, I'm thinking of like a king of like fishing rods or like fishing, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm just done with the Shadow Daddy vibe sort of thing going on. I think I'm just like over it. The beginning of this book, I was just like, oh my god, can we get to the point where they meet? Because I was just like, it also, the world just didn't make sense to me. I don't know, I don't believe the stakes of this world. And I think it's just gonna be a DNF. I'm just not gonna finish it. I'm sorry. The crimes were too great. And you're going in DNF. I'm sorry. Ooh, this one's gonna stir it up, okay? This is everybody's beloved book. Come to the front, Cruel Prince. Okay, the Cruel Prince series. Y'all don't hate me. This book has a little bit of crimes, at least against me, which, to be fair, to defend this book, in the defense, it has great writing. I think Holly Black, Miss Girl, you can write. I don't know if she wrote Spiderwick as well, but like, you're an icon. If you made Spiderwick, like, you're actually an icon. That was my childhood. Anyway, I think it just felt YA to me, or teen. I just like more adult books. I just don't think it was really like my like category sort of vibe, and that's more of a me thing, I know, but it's still a crime, like, in this court, okay? Against me. It was YA, and I'm just not really YA girly for that. Sorry, Cruel Prince. You're gonna be a DNF, but with parole, okay? You might be able to get out of this one. You might be able to make a comeback. Maybe down the future, I might let you out of your jail cell. The next series come up, the First Sister trilogy. I read this last year, and I was trying so damn hard to like it. You know, I love Handmaid's Tale. I didn't read the book, but I watched the entire show, and I want to read the Testaments. These characters kind of playing a similar role to what the handmaids in Handmaid's Tale are like. This main character, she doesn't even talk, which is crazy that they don't even let these women talk. It's all about this new commander kind of coming onto the ship that the First Sister has to work with, I guess. I feel like I got maybe 30% into the book, and I just felt a little bored. I don't know. I felt a little bit bored. The second plot with the second character, I'm like, how do they tie together? I'm really trying to like wonder, when do they tie together? But I just don't think I cared enough. And I think that's the crime of this book series. I'm sorry, I just didn't care enough, and it was a little slow. And I was trying to think, just like, what's the point? I think the concept was cool, but I just didn't care to continue that concept. And for those reasons, First Sister, you're getting a DNF. I'm sorry. I'm not finishing that series. I'll do some quick ones that I really just started, and I didn't get far into the first book. The first one is Leviathan Wakes. I think its crimes really is just maybe just not my type of book. And also there are so many like characters and so much things going on. I was getting confused even listening to the audiobook. It could be that I was listening to it before I went to bed, and that's just not a book you do that. But it's very sci-fi, and I don't really like when characters are just like in space, so to speak, on ships. I rather there be like established worlds and things like that. So for this one, for Leviathan Wakes, I'm sorry, you're a DNF, babe. Next is Red Rising. I know people love Red Rising. I think the only crime of this book for me is how blatant and in your face and obvious the like political structure is. I don't know. It's just like the golds and the reds. I haven't gone far into Red Rising, I haven't, but it's very apparent this is a political faction book, and I love politics in books. I like politics in general, so I truly do think I'll find the Red Rising series very interesting, and I'll have a lot of cool things to say. I truly think I'll give Red Rising another shot. I think I really just read the very beginning of the first of Red Rising. It could have even been the prologue that I read, and I was like, I don't know, like we were learning about it, but we're learning about the world, but it's just a fixed setting that the scene was going on for a very long time. I'm a very impatient person, but I do want to give Red Rising a try. I think I'll like it. So you're safe, Red Rising. Another rapid fire that I read Honestly, like the first page. I don't know if this is allowed. Throne of the Fallen. It read like YA, and I think that was the crime it had. Or not even YA. It just felt a little, he's the king of darkness or something. He's the king of like shadows. And I was like, oh, maybe this is just not for me. Maybe it's just not for me. I don't know. I might give it a chance. I think I'll put it into viewers decide. You guys can decide. This will go into that category with the rest of the books. Next, we have a very popular book in fantasy, and it is The Blade itself. It's very much the beginning. I just started it, but I've heard so much good things about it. I feel like I have to read it, but it needs to grip me. It needs to do what it needs to do, okay? And for that, you're safe, all right? First Law Trilogy, I will give you a chance. Anyway, so that concludes all the series that I've read, and if I'm DNFing them or keeping them, or you decide. So make sure you go over to my community page and see the poll. Also, let me know if you want to see a video of me actually finishing the series that I mentioned in this video. If there's a book you specifically think I need to take out of the DNF jail, write it in the comments. If you enjoy this type of content, subscribe. I post cozy content on here of all sorts. Also, leave this video a like if you enjoyed. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.